Okay guys, now I'm going to show you how to set up a preset program for baking bread. So I'm going to go ahead and tap Add Presets, click the Advanced tab, and we're going to call this Baking Bread. Alright, so similar to the other setup of making the dough, we're going to go through and add some sets and customize things and show you those steps. Please refer to my other video on that for more detail. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my steps here. I've already got them on a different app here. So I'm just going to copy and paste them, but of course you can type them in. So our first step in the bread baking process is, of course, turning on the oven. So that's what I've said here. And in my method, I like to bake either using a clay baker or a Dutch oven with a lid. So the first step, placing the Dutch oven inside a cool oven and turning on the oven to 500 degrees. Now this, depending on your particular oven, it may take a different amount of time, but generally speaking, if you've got an electric home oven, 30 minutes is a good amount of time to allow for preheating. So we can just add another step within this set for the next step, which will be, once the oven is hot, getting the dough out. So I'm going to copy this step, remove dough from refrigerator, score the dough, and then plopping it into the oven. So I'm just copying and pasting that step. Now, for most people, it's not going to take more than, say, 5 minutes. So I'll just set that to 5 minutes. And in my bread making methodology, I know there's different schools of thought on this. I go right from the refrigerator to the oven. So there's no warm-up time of the dough after it's been proofed, of course. So once that step is set up, then the next step is to bake it. So I'm going to copy the text for that step, which is basically, once the oven is hot, turning it back down to 450 Fahrenheit, and then starting our bake. And the first half of the bake is with the Dutch oven lid on. And I usually do sometimes 1 or 2 pound loaves. And if you're doing most recipes are kind of a 2 pound loaf or a 1 kilo loaf. Could be 20 minutes, but I'm just going to set it to 18 as the first half of the bake, where we've got things covered. And I could keep going. I could keep adding steps here. I'm just going to go ahead and use this next block here. You could, again, like I said, keep going with it, but and we only need 1 set in this case here. So the next step after that is to remove the Dutch oven lid and then finish baking the bread uncovered for the second half of the bake. So that's the step here. And again, that's another about 18, could be 18 to 20 minutes. At least this timer will tell you when 18 is up, so you can start checking and maybe let it go another 1 or 2 minutes. So then after that, the next step is, of course, pulling it out of the oven. And almost as important as baking the bread is letting the bread rest. If you cut into it right while it's fresh out of the oven, it can still be gummy, because after you pull it out, the internal heat continues to bake, and some of those starches in the bread start to crystallize as it cools. And if you interrupt that process, like I said, you're going to get gummy bread. So remove from the oven, place it on a cooling rack, and I kind of like want to reiterate what you need to do with that. So, and I like to let this go, the cooling, at least 90 minutes. So I'll just set that for 90 minutes. And then the final step after that. Okay. You can eat your bread now. If I can spell. And that's really no time at all because you've waited patiently. So that's pretty much it. What I like to do for my finish is you can customize the different sounds. I'm going to go ahead and set it to be like the bell. Like that. I'm going to go ahead and save my program. And now I've got my baking bread. We can go ahead and test it.
Place Dutch oven inside cool oven. Preheat oven to 500 degrees.
So again, about 30 minutes. I'm just going to manually skip to the next step, which is a cool feature of this interval timer program.
Remove dough from refrigerator. Score dough. Place in Dutch oven and cover.
Again, that may not take you 5 minutes, but typically anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. And if you do get done with that step sooner, as soon as you put it in the oven, like I said, what I'm doing is I'm just tapping and manually going to the next step, and that'll start the timer on the next step.
Turn oven down to 450 degrees. Bake covered with Dutch oven lid.
So again, that's the first half of our bake.
Remove Dutch oven lid. Finish baking bread and covered.
The second half, so you can let the bread brown as it bakes. And when that timer is up,
remove from oven and place bread on a cooling rack. Let that shit cool.
Just because, again, to reiterate, gotta let it cool. And then finally, when you've let it cool down,
okay, you can eat your bread now.
All right, so one little thing I noticed I missed is in the you can eat your bread now step, there's still a little gong sound. So I'm going to go into that step, hit the little gear icon, and now you can see I had 2 gongs going. So I actually want to get rid of that altogether because we do have 1 gong sound coming at the very end. So let's save it. Quickly go through
place
it again.
Dutch oven, remove from oven and place bread on a cooling rack. Let that shit cool.
Okay, that was way too fast. So let me do that one more time. Obviously I didn't get that right. So final count. Oh, there it is. Final count. I want to just set that to 0. So again, in this last step here, I'm not gonging, but right after that is the total finish step. So let's try that.
Place Dutch oven. Remove dough from roof. Turn oven down to 450 degrees. Bake covered with Dutch oven lid. Remove Dutch oven lid. Finish baking bread and cover. Remove from oven and place bread on a cooling rack. Let that shit cool.
Okay, once we've waited. All right, still didn't get something right here. As you can see, this is a very customizable program. I must have turned off, I did turn off the actual voice. That's what I want. So I'm tapping on the little voice. That'll actually explain the step. But as the final count, I turned that off. I think we finally got it.
Place Dutch oven. Remove from oven and place bread on a cooling rack. Let that shit cool. Okay, you can eat your bread now.
All right, there it is. So that's how you would set up the bread baking part using the interval timer app. Let me know if you've come up with any clever ways to use this this timer app. Again, the idea here is that you can be multitasking, working on other things, and have this app do the thinking and reminding for you, so you don't miss a crucial step, especially during baking, because nobody likes burnt bread. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.